You know, back when I was in school, Fire Emblem was like a cult classic. Seriously, no one ever played it. We only ever knew of its existence from that one Japanese sword fighter in Melee. And even when the new games came out or Ike was brought into Brawl, I'd be lucky to hear anything about the series. Then when the series entered the 3DS's library back in my high school days, I couldn't go a single day without hearing about it. Awakening quickly became a lot of people's favorite game for the system, and I was pretty high up there myself. Then Fire Emblem Fate's Birthright comes along, and please excuse me, I'll be gone for a couple of months. I like the idea of having the main character choose between their birth family and the people who raised them, but I still call BS that this was sold as 3 separate games. Admittedly, I bought Birthright so I could have an easier time on myself, but now I have to shell out $45 extra for a game that could have fit onto one cartridge. Okay, enough ranting, this is a favorites list after all. Well, the gameplay feels like an expansion of Awakenings with the returning pair-up system and waifu simulator. Weapons like magic and bows are now part of the weapons triangle, and while weapons no longer have limited uses, stronger arms now decrease certain stats, so it's kind of balanced. The story had me hooked from the start. I heard that Birthright's story was just the generic good guy versus bad guy throwaway story, but I didn't expect any of these character deaths. And no, I'm not talking about deaths in game, I play in casual mode. Yes, I play in casual mode because I'm not good at strategy games. But hey, at least I'm not playing in Phoenix mode where all strategy is thrown out the window. I sound really petty, don't I? Sadly, I felt most of the support conversations were pretty bland, and with such a colorful cast of characters, I don't want optional dialogue like this to feel like a chore to sit through. That said, however, don't come near my daughter, she's a precious cinnamon roll who gets her sword skills from her mom. I know, I sound super negative for the number 10 segment, but despite my problems, I really did enjoy this game. And writing the script for this video, and hell, even recording the lines right now, reminds me that I really need to get to Conquest at some point. I just hope that North side of the story keeps me just as engaged. Remember when I said this earlier? Bayonetta 2, everybody! I wasn't completely joking. Oh Bayonetta, why'd it take us so long to get back together? I first played the original Bayonetta back in 2014 and I was loving every minute of it. So it really makes me wonder why it took me so long to get to the sequel. It's probably my laziness. Well, whatever it was, I regret not playing it sooner because Bayonetta 2 is awesome. Kicking angelic ass is still very pleasing, performing witch time and torture attacks is still very satisfying, and summoning demons at the battle's climax is f***ing awesome. Oh, and when that blue mixes with the setting just right... There are a ton of weapons both old and new that Bayonetta can attach to her hands and feet. The pace is smooth and hardly slows down as the challenge increases, and holy f***, this soundtrack makes me want to climax. Wow, this segment is making me super vulgar. I do have a major issue involving the story though. Yeah, I know, who the f*** plays Bayonetta for a story, but this was just too jarring to me. The plot is that the balance with Paradiso and Inferno have gone out of whack to the point where one of Bayonetta's demons escapes and attacks her, and this never happens again. I know you fight some of them when you eventually go to Inferno, but why make it seem like there's gonna be consequences for performing a climax, and then have no consequences? Like seriously, you could have at least thrown in an extra boss fight or two. But if you put the story aside, it's basically everything I'd expect from a sequel to a game like this. Yes, you're looking at this correctly. Despite the game's massive popularity, I didn't play Portal till it was reaching its 9-year anniversary last year. Part of that is from my own stupidity. Despite never playing the game prior, I wrote it off as overrated because the only thing anyone ever seemed to talk about was the game's witty villain and her out-of-context quotes. But as I played, I found that there's clearly more to this game than just lol memes, since I found myself scratching my head and having a lot of fun trying to solve these puzzles. And of course, GLaDOS is the cherry on top of this already delicious Black Forest cake, and that's not a lie. Can't believe I freaking said that. I would pay to hear her do stand-up, assuming she doesn't kill me. Regardless of what I just said, GLaDOS' lines are best heard in game. Maybe it's just me, but I find her quotes more effective when she's talking to the player directly rather than in a random YouTube video out of the blue.
Get Rushdie there, fling yourself. Fling into space.
This game had as much impact on me as it did on the rest of gaming culture, and once my co-op buddy is available, I'll be more than happy to participate in another Aperture Science computer-aided enrichment activity. I think the best way to introduce this segment is with something I said in my previous countdown. How do you make an already creative series more creative? Mechanize it! If you follow me for a while now, you might know that I dedicated an entire month of Let's Plays to the pink puffball back in April of last year. Something that I now regret to some degree, but let's not dwell on the past. Still, with that in mind, it shouldn't be any surprise that Kirby Planet Robobot made it on the list. I'm honestly surprised they were able to keep all the cuteness the series is known for despite its industrial setting. Kirby's still as cute as ever, Susie is just adorable. Even the final boss has this cute yet creepy vibe going on as it stares at you with its soul-piercing eyes. Gameplay-wise, it's your basic Kirby game, but on top of the new copy abilities, the new Robobot armor has its own copy abilities that act differently from Kirby's to the point where they can change the gameplay entirely. The Robobot armor even has some weight to it cause, yeah, we really needed to make this little guy feel like a hulking beast. And if the main game doesn't satisfy you, there's 200 stickers to collect, a 3D mode, a 4-player action RPG, Meta Nightmare Returns, and the True Arena. Good luck with those last two, by the way, because I was pulling my hair out. Kirby Planet Robobot was a step up from Triple Deluxe, which was an already fun game to begin with, and at the end of the day, that's all I really look for when Kirby's the main subject. My brother and I have had this sort of tradition going on since 2007, and I figured that since we've been doing this for nearly a decade, and that he's as important to the making of these videos as I am, why do this alone?
Alola!
That's right, it's Pokémon! Since the release of Diamond and Pearl, Matthew and I would get the new sister games as soon as possible and either play through the game together or race to see who can get to the Elite Four first.
I always won, by the way.
Shut up, you.
Oh, so now you're complaining? Just remember who stopped and gave you a handicap in black and white. Or did you want me to just dash through the game as you dragged your feet 3 towns back?
Dude, just tell the viewers what you thought of the game.
I haven't actually beaten the game yet, so you probably have more to say than I do, but Pokemon Sun and Moon is, well, Pokemon. It's pretty damn clear that Game Freak tried to bring the 3DS to its best performance at all times, but double battles still crawl to a f***ing snail's pace. Is it any better on the new 3DS?
Define better. Crappy frame rate aside, I feel that Sun and Moon does a good job of balancing the old with the new. HMs are absent, but now we have ride Pokemon that get the job done without having to use one of your 4 move slots, or have a designated HM slave that will take up a slot in your party at some point. There are Pokemon new to Alola, some familiar faces with new types, moves, and abilities, and of course the Island Trials.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like the Island Trials.
Really? Why is that?
I understand what Game Freak was going for, a break from the old formula that most people were growing tired of in exchange for some world building. But the trials feel a lot less rewarding. When you challenge a gym, you have to battle trainers and solve puzzles as a test of your skills before fighting the gym leader. The island trials, on the other hand, don't have any trainers, only low-level wild Pokemon, with the task ranging from fetch quest to guess the sound. And in the end, you don't even get to battle anyone who worked to earn their title.
I see where you're coming from, but I have to disagree with you on that. The trials reflect their captains' personalities, and you get the chance to get to know them before you accept their trial. Furthermore, after completing all the trials on the island, you get to take the Grand Trial where you face the island's kahuna, i.e. the strongest trainer on the island.
Meh, call it nostalgia blindness, but the island trials just don't give me any motivation to continue.
Well, to each their own, I guess. Let me give you an idea of how much I adored this game. This was the first Pokemon game and possibly ever where I savored my adventure, only playing in short bursts each day because honestly, I think the story is the best part of this game, and I want to savor every moment of it rather than just zip through it in 3 days. Well, bro, you got any final thoughts you want to leave out on?
Sun and Moon was just a whatever kind of game.
Well, thanks, Matt. Now let's look at the games that kept such beloved games such as Portal, Kirby, and even Pokemon out of the top 5. There's only one JRPG I played last year that outshined Pokemon in my eyes. A cute little mystery RPG called Light. This was a really hard decision to make, and I don't just mean whether this or Pokemon should have been higher. The version of Light you can buy on Steam is a trilogy of games, and because of this, many people are unsure of whether these should be considered separate games or chapters of one full game. I personally side with the former, but ultimately I decided to put all 3 on here. Not just because I can't choose one as my favorite for the life of me, but mainly because I played all 3 games in one sitting, so I don't think this is too much of a cop-out. Light Eat tells the story of an adorable little dragon girl named Ifina, or Iffy for short. Dragons in this world take on the physical appearance of humans, but they all have their own unique abilities. Iffy's ability is the power to give people's eyes a physical form and eat them, hence the oddly worded title. Both the story and gameplay are quite basic. The story is straightforward enough that you can easily follow along, but this does take away from the mystery aspect at points. And gameplay is streamlined to the point where even if you don't find the legendary weapons by pure accident, you pretty much have to try to lose. I can already tell some of you might be rolling your eyes asking, how did this outdo Pokemon? And the best answer I can give you is I simply enjoyed this more. Light Eat managed to capture me with its winsome art style, its beautifully animated cutscenes, and the highlight of the games for me were its colorful cast of characters, including the 2 protagonists, Iffy and Theo. Theo is a con artist, tricking people into giving him money and information, and because of this, he changes his name and appearance for each town he visits. But him and Iffy work so well off each other. Iffy, being less than a year old, is incredibly hyperactive and highly curious of the world around her, while Theo is serious and easily annoyed by Iffy, but is somewhat playful at times. The 2 are entertaining enough on their own, but put them together and you have my candidate for the cutest duo in video games. Light Eat certainly surpassed my expectations, and I'll gladly go through the adventures of the light-eating dragon again anytime. Hey, you hear that music? Well, I can only think of one thing that would mean. It's showtime! As someone who has been a regular viewer of the Countdown community since 2011, I have seen a lot of titles pop up here and there. But the one that I wrote off as just a simple rhythm game is now my personal favorite game on the 3DS. The game does a good job of easing you into the gameplay, helping you get a good sense of rhythm. The controls are very responsive, for the most part. And if you're still having a difficult time, items are available to help improve your score. The beautiful city of Paris is looking just as wonderful with this Layton-esque art style, and it really stands out in the animated cutscenes. I'm not going to spoil the story because I feel it's best experienced blind, but I will say that there isn't a single character I dislike. Phantom R, Marie, even the characters I'm supposed to dislike I enjoy to some extent. And if this soundtrack doesn't make you want to get up and dance, then I don't know what will. For just a simple rhythm game, Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure certainly left me speechless.
Show's over, folks.
I'm normally a very patient man, but when a game I'm even a little interested in gets delayed, I'm like an anxious kid waiting for Christmas. And after 3 years of waiting, I was more than excited when we finally got Shantae HalfGenie Hero. I was so eager to get my hands on this game that I bought it twice. Pre-ordered it on the Wii U and then bought it on Steam so I could play it as soon as possible. It's a simple 2D Metroidvania-styled platformer, but now the animal transformations from the first 2 games make a return. I admit they can't be pulled off quite as quickly as the pirate gear from the previous game, Shantae and the Pirate Curse, but the transformation dances felt like second nature after not too long. Magical powers in addition to various upgrades can be purchased from the store, and optional dances and items can be found for those who look hard enough. But where this game really shines is its presentation. The 3D backgrounds blend with the environments incredibly well. The gang's all here, saving the world and looking so damn cute while doing it. And surely you'd like to move to these tunes. You can't resist it for long. Dance, monkey! This game has just enough replay value to keep me coming back. Admittedly, one of the reasons this list took so long was because of my horrible attempts at speedrunning. And that's not all, there's still DLC on the way for even more replayability. Way forward, you guys aren't losing points for me anytime soon. You created one of my favorite 2D platformers as well as my #1 game for 2016, and I look forward to your future projects. All that's left now is my favorite game I played in 2016.
All clear!
Let's talk about A Bird's Story. If I've learned anything from 2016, it's that I'm not as open-minded as I originally thought I was. To the Moon stands as one of my favorite games of all time, mainly for its writing. So when I heard that Freebird's newest title was connected to the sequel but had zero dialogue, I was skeptical to the point where I chose not to buy it. When I finally played it, however, I sat in complete surprise by what I was missing. A Bird's Story focuses on an almost completely visual narrative, using the art, character interactions, and even audio cues to tell its story, creating what I feel is the perfect representation of a child's imagination. When a shy child forms a bond with an injured bird, the two experience very heartwarming moments together, and as their friendship grows, the boy steps further out of his comfort zone, creating a story about the value of friendship and the importance of letting go of the ones you love. A Bird's Story was a magical experience for me, and I can't wait for when we finally go finding paradise. I'm GalacticLime, and can your imagination make dreams become a reality?